She's a graduate from University of Colombo, and she was selected to Sri Lankan Youth Parliament as a senator, and she is well versed in English, Sinhalese, and Japanese. She's a representative for Special Youth Group Commonwealth Youth Council, and today Shiromi Samarakon has secured the position at the as a Youth Transistor Executive Committee, the position in Commonwealth Youth Gender Equality Network. She's a mature activist who has gained global recognition. We are enlightened to have Ms. Shiromi Samarakon here with us today. Ms. Shiromi, over to you. Welcome you, and great pleasure to have you with us with Zonal English Channel Chill Out.
Thank you so much, Rashika. And thank you so much for the extensive introduction. So I'm a youth activist at the same time. In terms of the background related to literature, I must say that I have been teaching English literature for nearly 5 years as a freelance teacher, of course. At the same time, I really enjoy teaching students, and my hobby is teaching. And I'm so impressed and grateful to the zonal educational zonal education unit in Chilao for inviting me to facilitate one of the interesting lessons for you. So good morning to everyone. And here we're going to start the poem, A Bird Came Down the Walk. So I hope that you are enjoying English literature, and this is going to be another remarkable poem that you have to learn about nature in your anthology. I'm going to share my PowerPoint presentation with you, so then I'll be able to begin the session. Just trying to fix certain things and knowing that this meeting will be recorded. I'm going to adjust a few things before I start. I hope you all are doing great, and it's quite in the morning. We are going to know and we are going to learn this poem, which is going to be really interesting. And I hope this is the best time for you to learn this poem too. A Bird Came Down the Walk is a poem by Emily Dickinson. So before getting to know about the poem, let's try to get to know a little bit about the ground rules, children. Since this is an online gathering, as you are already aware, this lesson will be recorded and will be available on YouTube. And please ensure that you mute your microphones during the class and unmute in case if I ask you to respond. And the other thing is the chat box will be open for you to ask any sort of question coming on the way. Right, so let's try to get to know about the poetess. She's Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson is considered as America's greatest poet of all the time. She's such an influential poet in America. She is a nature poet, and her work is extensively about the attachment and fascination to the natural. She has written. The next thing is, when talked about her her techniques that she has used when she writing poems, she uses simple metaphors to describe the sky, the sea, the jungle, the behavior of animals. So she uses metaphors and a lot of other techniques, but metaphorical language is a very unique feature in her poems. Now, this wonderful balance between imagination and observation makes Dickinson poems. So she is considered as a very cautious observer of nature. right? So she observes the nature, and when she presents the poem, she comes with an enormous imagination, which is really interesting. So probably in the poem we will see how nicely that she has created this blend between the observation and imagination. So let's get into the poem and get to know more about how she has created this beautiful balance. One another interesting fact about Emily's writing is that Emily identifies, or she sees nature as a living force. It's so beautiful that she sees the energies in the nature. She sees the life in nature, and it's innate, particularly about animals, the birds, and the rest of the other inmates of nature, or the personalities of nature, as well as she identifies differences in between one creature to another. She sees the strange or particular behaviors of different creatures in nature, as well as their uncommonalities, because one creature is different from another. And she very nicely, or if she beautifully describes these differences, as well as they as an essential part of nature, but also with dignity and pride. This is again very important, children. She wants to give that regards to the nature. She wants to identify the dignity of the animals, the pride, the beauty of animals, as well as the rest of the characteristics. Let's see how she has brought different attributes, different characteristics of creatures in nature. The next point is in this particular poem, we see how dignified lives that the creatures in the natures are maintaining, as well as their self-sufficiency. As also, I would like to say the self-assured, living its own life, finding its own food, and the next point is that although the poet is trying to intervene, but how uh, the the creatures or the inmates of nature are going to accept the intervention of the poet. So these things will be able to explain. Right. Now, children, before learning the poem, I would like to take you a little tour. And let's try to see what is the exact context this poet is trying to have a new window. Give me a couple of minutes, not minutes, but seconds. Yeah, I'm already there. So this will give you a brief understanding about, yes. I want to share the sounds with you too. I have done a little mistake. Okay, I'm already there. So let's watch it first, and thereafter we'll be able to get into the poem.
A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in halves, and ate the fellow raw, and then drank a dew from a convenient grass, and then hopped sideways to the wall to let a beetle pass. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened beads, I thought. He stirred his velvet head, like one in danger, cautious. I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rowed him softer home. Then oars divide the ocean, too silver for a seam. Or butterflies, off banks of noon, leap, plashless as they swim.
Welcome back. I hope you got a brief idea, brief understanding about what we are going to discuss today. So it's about nature. It's about a small bird. Right. So with that understanding, let's get into the poem. Just have a look at the poem, children, in your anthology. Go through the poem and see the structure. How many stanzas are there? Just try to count the number of stanzas and the structure of each stanza, whether there is a proper flow or the number of number of lines in each stanza. Just have a little observation about the structure. You may see there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stanzas, and each stanza continues 4 lines. Okay, so we call poetry with 4 lines in each stanza as quatrains, as well as you see there is a very sort of a regular flow in each stanza. That's why we say that there is a proper structure, a very regular structure can be seen, can be observed in this poem. Right. And just have a look at the language component. Or also you can have a look at the title, A Bird Came Down the Wall. Try to imagine what does it suggest. The next point is the simplicity of the language. You may see that the poem is written in a very simple, using a very simple language. A bird came down the walk, he did not sow, I saw. He bid an angel warm in house. Okay, so likewise you see how the simple narrative style that the writer has used. Okay, so I hope that you went through the poem and had a brief understanding about the structure of the poem. It's going to be a very simple, very small poem with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stanzas in it. Okay, so let's go through the poem. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, the chat box is open, you can ask. So let's try to understand the title of the poem. A bird came down the walk. A bird came down the walk. It's sort of a suggestive title, gives us an understanding about, okay, this is something about a bird and something about a bird coming down the walk. Walk is a pathway. So along the small footpath or along the little pathway, the bird is coming down. And the other thing is, children, you may imagine that usually we consider birds. What do? How do they move? They either fly or they hop. But in this case, the poetess is trying to say that the bird coming down. Okay, so try to imagine, okay, what is the idea that the writer is trying to generate among us by saying that the bird is coming down. A bird came. So let's get into the poem. I hope you are clear about the title now. So it's a suggestive title, as I told you, right? And the next point is it tells us about a little bit of the background of the poem with this simple title. A bird came down the walk. He did not know I saw. He bit an angleworm in house and ate the fellow raw. Okay, so what does it say? A bird has come down. As I told you, it has not flied down. It has not hopped down or hopped along the walk. But it's all about coming down. This gives an idea about a bird is walking or coming down, like a person, because we are, or the human being usually walk, and we use the footpath or the pathway, the roads to move, to walk. So same like this is sort of, in a way, it personifies the bird and its movement. A bird is not flying down, but it is coming down. It's not hopping down, but it is coming down. So it creates an idea of a man coming down, or a man walking along the footpath, or along the garden, along a small pathway in the garden, right? But the interesting thing is that he did not know. You say the word he. Why the bird has been described as he, other than using the word it. We usually describes animals by using the pronoun it, but other than using it, the poetess used the word, the pronoun he. So I hope you get the idea about the technique. Okay, so what is a technique which indicates by using he? Yes, of course, Himanshu, I see your response. It's personification. The writer is trying to personify the bird. He did not know. I saw, that means the bird is unaware of the presence of the poetess. The bird is unaware of the observation of the poetess. Now, since it is unaware of the presence of the poetess, the behavior or the conduct of the bird is very much natural. It's not interrupted by anybody else or by a third party. So you see a natural behavior or conduct of the bird. Now, what the bird has done after coming down along the walk, he bit. Bit means bite, past tense. You know, biting means eating into small pieces. Chewing, munching is called as biting. Okay. So he bit, bite, past tense, bit. And angleworm. Angleworm means an earthworm. You may see that these sort of earthworms everywhere in the ground, in the garden. And interestingly or uninterestingly, the worm has been eaten into house. You know, house, half, plural, house. Okay. So the worm is eaten into two parts. My God. Now it creates sort of an unpleasant impression among the reader. We as the readers, or we as observers, we love to see beautiful things, but a bird eating a worm into two halves shows sort of an unhuman behavior of the bird. Okay, or else now we consider it as the poetess want to observe the bird as a person by using the words like come, he, but unfortunately, you see that savage behavior or unhuman behavior of the bird. And the last line indicates that and ate the fellow. So the action is sort of repeated, saying that how unpleasant it is. And ate the fellow. Fellow means the mate, the friend, because all these are creatures in the nature. So the friend has been used. Sorry, so there is a question asking, right, so the meeting has to be recorded. I thought that it has been started recording, but it seems like still not recording. Yes, of course, you can move forward with recording. And ate the fellow roe. Roe means the earthworm has been eaten, just eaten, you know. Of course, the birds cannot cook food. It is their way of taking food. So this is the implication, and just observe certain techniques used. So row, and these are end rhymes, as well as you may see the simple language I told you, some sort of symbolization. We'll be able to discuss these facts towards the end of the lesson. I'm sorry, the second one is going about, of course, there is an anaphora used. So let's discuss about all these things towards the end of the lesson. This is going to be the second stanza. I'm sorry, I have indicated it as a first stanza. And then, so moving on, he drank a dew from a convenient grass and then hopped sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. Now the mentioning is about, okay, now the bird is satisfied with its food. Its stomach is full. And to complete the action of food taking, so intake of the food, it has drank a dew. Okay, so dew means You may find them on grass in the morning. So it's sort of the frozen, not actually frozen, yes, those are the droplets of water form at night. And it's very fresh. um, the bird has drank a dew from a convenient grass, convenient in a comfortable. You may visualize the beauty of this scene, that the grass is green color, a bird is hopping and eating and drinking water from grasses is a beautiful scenery. And those are, eye-catching, and it's a please, a feast to our eyes. So the bird has drank deep comfortably from grass. And this wording grass is again important. The reason is that this gives us an idea about, grass. Another similar sound for grass is glass. Okay, so grass and glass. This gives an idea about a man drinking water conveniently from a glass. So see how the writer is very successful in creating a picture of a bird taking some water, same like a man taking water conveniently from a glass, and then hop sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. And the next point is the bird has moved slightly sidewise, means towards one side to the wall. Why is that? We are quite inquisitive. We are quite, see how the poet is trying to create the curiosity among the reader. The the bird has hopped sidewise. Why? We are quite inquisitive. But this time is for another action. This action is a very much of an act of a kindness. It has moved a little bit to allow, to let a beetle, beetles, you may see beetles in your gardens, in your home, the black color insects, and you have an idea about beautiful color combination of the nature, the green grass and then the bird plus the black beetle. And now the bird would have, now you have a question. This bird is not a vegetarian, is a non-vegetarian or a carnivorous, can be considered as a carnivorous animal. And that's why it has eaten worm. But this time it would have taken the beetle as well. It would have eaten the beetle too. But it didn't do so. Why is that? It doesn't take, or it doesn't consume. It is not into over-consuming. It's satisfied with the food that it has done. It has already drank dew and finished. It doesn't want to eat the beetle as well. And that's why, as an act of kindness, of course, as an act of kindness, it has allowed the beetle to pass. You see different attributes, different characteristics of the bird, such as the self-sufficiency. Yes, you have mentioned in the WhatsApp group, you have mentioned in the chat group, the self-sufficiency of the bird, and the act of kindness, the politeness, savageness. These are different features of the bird you may see. So let's pause a little bit and then try to understand the first two stanzas in a better way. Now, do you think the poet has a particular intention when she states a bird came down the walk? Does she have a particular intention? Just try to think about this. Why does she say that a bird came down the walk? I explained you this little earlier as well. It's basically to give us an idea of a bird is coming like a man, coming like a human being. So that's the beauty of Dickinson's poetry. The next point is, just think about what reference does the word, the walk have? What reference does the word, the walk have? Walk, not flying, not hopping. Yeah. So what reference? It's man's movement, yes, is indicated. Yeah. And then the walk is a pathway. So people, man use pathways, the walk, or else the footpath to walk, not animals. So at first, the poetess sees the bird same like a human being, same like a gentleman coming along in the footpath of the garden. The third point is that how would you describe the bird's actions? Are they deliberate or are they influenced by someone else? Are they self-possessed? Is the bird arrogant? Why would you say so? Think about these facts. Are they deliberate? Are they natural? Yes, you may see. Um, the um, the concern is so much, or the way that the bird is coming is so much natural. Those are not, yes, um, those are not influenced by the poetess. Why did he let the beetle pass? Would you say that this action suggests selectivity in the bird's action? Right? Why did it do the beetle pass? Is there a selectivity? The earthworm was eaten, but the beetle was uh, let to live. Is there a selectivity? Or else what is the reason? It's because the okay, so I want to give you one indication. There is a chat going on and the chat is not so nice. I have been so much nicer to you. And the second point is I'm a volunteer here. I'm doing a voluntary service. I am a professional person. I would like children to be professional too. If you are going to do any misconduction within this group, I'm going to remove you because I have the authorization. I'm the host here. I'm going to remove you. Okay, so it's my last warning. So please be kind enough. I'm going to remove you in case if there would be any, not nice communication takes place in the chat box. So I'm going to remove few people who are going to have not nicer using quite disappointing language. Right, so let's move on. What quality could you attribute to the bird's character as a result of this action? So what are the qualities? Just think about the qualities. I explained you already different qualities. And the qualities, remember the qualities, okay? Just try to refresh your thoughts. What image is created in your mind with reference to bird drinking water from grass? Bird drinking water from grass. Or bird drinking water from glass. So these are two different things you can compare and contrast. Now let's move on. You can come up with the set of questions about my personal communication a little later. Let's move on. This is the analysis of the first and the second stanzas. I'm quickly going on. The speaker begins by describing the simple but the beautiful movements of a bird. The bird's movement is described as coming down rather than flying down. You are all familiar with these terms now. The words is coming down the walk, such as like a sidewalk or a path to the garden with human attributes, I told you. The sidewalk is more like a human action, which reflects civilized, gentleman behavior. Please try to note this down. These are very important for you children. So these are the quotes that you can refer when you're writing answers. These actions indicate civilized gentleman behavior that the poet is visualizing through the bird. The bird bites an angleworm in house that eats it through. As I told you, that shows the wildness of the bird, non-humanness, and the savage behavior of the bird. Try to indicate these things, try to note down these. It will be really helpful for you. The next point is it also suggests, let me try to get the spotlight. Okay. So it also suggests the interdependency of plants, animals in the nature, the self-sufficiency, interdependency. These are the other things that you can bring, you can consider. The bird is completely unaware of the presence of the poet, yeah, and all the actions are freely takes place. The final point is the poet creates a contrast of civilized behavior and uncivilized nature of the birds in the first stanza. Okay, hope things are clear. Right, I'm moving to the next stanza. I'm also trying to check the chat box because I see that a lot of yeah, I'm going to check the chat for a while. And I'm going to remove a few people. I hope your conduct will stop the recording or else will disturb the participants. I'm going to stop chat box or no one will be able to chat here. Just adjusting a few things because I want you to be concentrate on your lesson. So please try to concentrate on your lesson. Right, so let's move on, children. Thank you for your patience. The nature provides everything for the existence of the living beings in it. Yeah, it is self-sufficient, interrelated, and interdependent. Please try to note down these words, very important for you. Right, and the other thing is, as I told you, it's a morning time. It's feel like because the dew drops are there on the grass. So it suggests the activities take place during the morning hours. And the next point is having satisfied with its appetite, the bird is able to find some water from the dewdrops, complete its meals scattered over the fresh grasses. The mentioning of the convenient glass create an effect of a man drinking water from a glass comfortably. Okay, I mentioned this fact already. So please try to note down these things. Try to keep them in your mind. Very important for you. In the next two lines, another small life is introduced, the beetle. Okay, so while the two creatures might be simple to human eyes, the bird makes a conscious effort to hop to the side and let the beetle to move. So this activity, letting the beetle pass, can be elaborated as an act of kindness. I told you, act of politeness. Please note these down, very important for you. An act of cooperation, as well as it can be considered as an act of collaboration. The beetle is an easy prey for the bird, but the bird is not greedy to overconsume. So we people, now in this case, the poetess is trying to, in a way, to explain it sarcastically that we are into over-consuming. We take all the food and or else the luxury items, the items which are needed and not needed, we are to buy them sometimes because we are into over-consume, and that's how we are going to destroy the nature. But these birds and the animals are not going to overconsume. Once they are satisfied, that's done, and they would move into the next activity. They would not overconsume like the human being. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next point, probably the next stanza, but give me a second. Okay, so this is going to be stanza tree. The stanza tree is about, yeah, the next set of activities the bird is trying to do. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. They looked like frightened bees, I thought. He stirred his velvet head. Sorry about the noise coming from my background. Okay, so let's try to understand the meaning of stanza tree. He glanced. Glanced means having a very brief, very short look. So he glanced here, there, up. Likewise, with rapid eyes. Rapid eyes means the eyes are quickly moving. You might have noticed among the birds that the eyes, they usually move very quickly sometimes. And the other thing is, there are instances that even we as human being or as animals start moving their eyes very rapidly. Why? What are the instances? Just try to think about what are the instances there where birds are very much, looking here, there, and then move their eyes very rapidly. What are the instances? Just try to reflect. What are the instances? Usually when they are scared, when they are afraid of something, whenever they have noticed sort of a danger, they would glance here, there, and then they would quickly move their eyes like this. Okay, so it indicates that the bird has got a sign of a possible danger, a risk coming along the way, right? So that's the next indication. And let's see the reaction of the bird against it. So he glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. Here, yeah. Now, the second point is, that hurried all abroad. So what hurried all abroad? The rapid eyes. So the eyes are in a rush. Hurried means they are in a rush, and they were hurrying, or I'm sorry. They were hurrying all abroad, or all around. All abroad means all around. Sorry, there was a little text technical difficulty. Apologize for that. Now you have an imagine about the conduct and the behavior of the bird. Seems like that the behavior is influenced by someone else. They look like frightened bees. Children, there is something that you have to note. Glanced with rapid eyes. This goes as a metaphor, and identify what is this. They look like frightened bees. Look like. Identify the technique. What is it? They look like frightened bees. It's a simile. I hope you're familiar with these terms. They look like. It's a technique used by the writer. They look like frightened bees. What is meant by frightened? The eyes are very afraid of something. So they look like afraid. Beads, you might have seen beads. Beads is small balls made by plastic, glass, and there are a lot of beads, ornaments, beads, jewelry that usually women used to wear. Okay, I hope you are familiar with beads. And okay, I have got beads in my earring too. Right, so these are beads. And here this time these beads must be quite larger. My beads are very small here. So the eyes look like, their eyes are not like our eyes. Our eyes are very large, okay? But we are referring to a bird eye. So the bird eye must be very much small, like a bead. So they look like frightened beads. Why? They are moving rapidly and they are looking here and there because it has noticed a possible danger. And they're very sensitive, you know. They're not like mankind. Animals, especially birds, are very sensitive against the changes taking place in the nature, as well as they are very cautious. He stirred his velvet head. Okay, so again, you see the personification. He glanced, he stirred, he moved his velvet head. Now, this time, it's again going to be a metaphor, children. Okay, velvet head. You can't have velvet heads. Velvet is, I think you are familiar with this fabric, velvet. It's a very shiny fabric. You may know about it, and it's the colors of the velvet are very, very bright, beautiful, shiny. So its head is like a velvet fabric. So its head is like a velvet fabric, very shiny, very beautiful, very colorful, and this head is moving here and there to see what is going around. Okay, so just notice these end rhymes, a broad head. Okay, I'm moving on to the next stanza. Like one in danger, I offered him a crumb, and he unrolled his feathers and rode him softer home. What is meant by that? This time, the behavior is so much different. In the first and second stanza, the bird behaved naturally, but now the bird is more or like in a rush, in a danger, like one in danger. Cautious is very careful, very vigilant this time. I'm sorry, this is more about the poetess. Okay, now the poetess intervene in the context. So up to stanza 3, right, up to stanza 3, everything was about what did the bird do. Okay, but from stanza 4 to onward, there is a mentioning about how the poetess is trying to intervene to the context. Now, what do we do usually whenever we see birds, the rabbit, the squirrel in the garden, these wild animals in the garden? Sometimes we feel sympathy. Sometimes we feel like, okay, helping them out by offering some food. Or else we may sometimes try to enjoy the beauty of them. Okay, or else we would try to go closer to them and see and try to have a careful look at them to enjoy their beauty. Okay, so same like that, this poetess is trying to intervene, is trying to help out the bird, like one in danger. This time I'm like a person in danger. You see the simile, like one in danger, very carefully, very cautiously. I means the poetess, okay? Dickinson offered, gave, or presented him, the bird, a crumb. Crumb is a small piece of bread, biscuit, or a cake. Crumb is something like that, a piece of bread, basically. Then what did the bird do? It unrolled his feathers. The bird, did it accept or not? Seems like the bird has not accepted. It unrolled, it rolled out the feathers and rode him softer home. And then it started roving, not flying. This time it says that rode him softer home. This flight of the bird. So you gave a crumb, the bird didn't accept. Instead of accepting, it started flying away. Okay. Now this time is compared to a rowing a boat. So that's the interesting part. I'm going to move to the Okay, I hope you get an idea about this stanza 4, and then you notice certain techniques like cautious, feathers, the end rhymes, and then the next point is like one in danger, the simile, and yeah, rode him softer home. I'm moving to the next slide. Now, try to pause a little bit and reflect what is meant by the last two stanzas we did. The first thing is, how would you expect the lines? He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. So, um, do you think that that the bird is having a concern in this case? He glanced with rapid eyes. The eyes look very like frightened bees. Do you think that there is, in this case, the bird is having a particular concern? As I told you, yes, of course, the bird is careful about its security. The next point is, how did the bird react to the poet persona's offer of the food? What is the reaction? Did it accept or didn't it accept? If it didn't accept, what would be the reason? Very important. Think critically, children. What would be the reason for the bird to not to accept it? Because it's cooked food, not like the raw earthen worm eaten to house. This time, cooked, delicious food is given, and it doesn't want to make any attempt of, breaking into house or attempt of finding food freely provided. Very easy to have it. But what is the reason for the bird to not to accept food? Is very important. Please think critically. Bring this point when you're writing answers. Very important. This is what we call as we're trying to analyze and look at the context in a critical manner. How do you explain the rest of the lines? It's more about the flight of the bird, that it didn't accept. The reason for not accepting is it's full now. And it doesn't want to overconsume. And then it started moving. So the move is more about, it reflects the beauty of natures. The writer is trying to bring about different parts or different features of nature. We went through different, elements. Probably in next slide, I'll be able to discuss in detail. The speaker takes some liberties with the description and state how the bird's eyes appear like the bees. They are shiny, probably black, and we get sort of picturesque visual images about how beautiful these eyes are. And you can even note down, children, especially the verse I have written in another color. You can note down in your book. The shiny black beautiful eyes. The bird becomes very scared, extra vigilant. These are certain features of the bird. Very cautious about the possible threats, dangers around it. Okay. And I hope you will write down this. So this is going to be another attribute of the birds, cautious. The nature has given it instinct alerting. Yeah, they are very cautious. They alert very instinctively, in a very quick notion, on such possible dangers. The frightened beads are the eyes of birds, yeah, which move quickly, all abroad, trying to see everything at once. It's very on the edge and aware of the variety of dangers it might face. The next point is the velvet head, as I told you. So it implies the luxury, the beauty, smoothness, silkiness, soft texture. So try to spot these important phrases. And a very fine visual and color imagery is created in this context, and it shows the delicate balance of nature. The speaker, in this case, fails to continue the observation. Why? The bird is already is ready to fly away, and the reason is bird is being scared by the mediation of the poetess, by providing the crumb, due to the presence and as well as the presence of the speaker. Okay, let's move. I hope you had a time to go through the slide for a little. In the fourth stanza, okay, so I explained about the third stanza in the previous slide, and in the next slide, it's about the fourth stanza. The speaker offers it a crumb while extending friendly hand towards the bird. The bird is extra cautious, thinks about the safety, more than the deliciousness of the food. And unexpectedly, the bird, because the poetess is full of hopes about the bird would expect the food, the offer, the man-made cooked food, but it seems like it's very sarcastic in this case. Even you can write it down, children. It's sarcastic to see. It's ironical to see that the bird appreciates natural food, not the man-made artificial food. Okay. The next point is the speaker appreciates the bird's readiness to fly away. It unrolls its feathers and start flying towards the nest. Now this time, the flight is described as rowing a boat, which has soft, gentle movement. As I told you, it is not explained as a flight. It's more like it's smoother than a flight, smoother than flying in the air. It's more or less like a rowing, which is something like a meditation. You know, rowing a boat is like a meditation. I'm not talking about rowing that you would done for a competition. This time, sometimes you may see a lonely boat or a canoe in water, very much like a very a very beautiful scenery, very calm, very relaxed, very slow, very patient. It's like a meditation. So this time the birds flight away is like it's a beautiful scenery, very slow, very delicate, and like a meditation. And moving on, the flight is described as rowing a boat. Instead of the uses the term home. So unrolled his feathers and rode him softer home. Okay, rode him softer home. Not the nest, children. This is the home, to the home. So the word or the indication of home gives us a sense, gives us a feeling of bird is a part of a family. Okay, again, it gives us an idea about it. It again personifies the bird's dwelling, right? The flight of the bird is explained as a very graceful, very gentle activity. Let's move on. The last stanza, stanza 6. See the beauty of that flight, and the poetess is awestruck. It's really astonished and observing the fascinating beauty of that flight. I think the poetess is trying to pose us a little and to observe the nature carefully. You will really enjoy how beautiful it is, how serene the nature is, the birds chirping, and then there are, you know, butterflies flying. These are beautiful sceneries, but we would have not thought, or else with our rush or with our, you know, sometimes we must be busy with different activities, different engagement. Our concentration is not so much focused with these things. We may miss observing, but if you carefully observe, you may see the beauty embedded in nature. And this beauty is explained in this way. Then oars divide the ocean, two silver for a scene. See the beauty of the language. Oh, butterflies off banks of noon live. flashless as they swim. You see the beautiful flow of this stanza. The meaning behind is more or less like the flight of the bird is the poet is trying to compare with rowing a boat. Okay, but the flight of the bird is gentle than rowing a boat. It's gentle than oars. You know oars? Oars are the pole, the stick you use to row boats. Okay, so then oars divide the ocean. You see how smooth, how delicate the way that people rowing boat in the vast ocean. A lone boat is dividing the ocean, makes us an idea about, okay, no, like there is no disturbance at all. And two silver for a seam. Now, when oars divide the ocean, maybe it creates sort of a small wave, and that wave is shiny. So you see shiny, the waves coming up with the movement of the boat. Silver, shiny, two silver, it creates a shine, it creates a spark for a seam, for each wave, or each seam is a line where two things join. Okay, so it's probably the wave like this. So you see the spark, the shine over the joint. Okay, so you see two silver, two shiny over the wave. Okay, and again, the poetess is not successful with that comparison. She thinks that no. This flight is can be again butterflies. This flight is delicate than a rowing a boat, right? Butterflies, their flight is very smooth, very delicate. So now she's trying to bring about another example, another comparison. Or else, let's say butterflies off banks, they are away from the river banks, off banks, afternoon, in the evening. Very beautiful. Okay. And the way that butterflies are moving, flying, are like that, leaping or jumping into small slots without plashless as they swim. Plashless means without disturbing. Now here the words are sometimes they are not related to each other. You don't see butterflies are jumping or butterflies are making splash. Butterflies are into flying, but she's trying to bring vivid imagery. Okay, so she thinks like maybe the idea is like anyway, let's try to get the meaning of flashless. Flashless means it doesn't make any splash in water. When you swoosh water, it creates a splash sound. Okay, or when something is got into water, it makes a splash. But this time the butterflies are flying without disturbing, but here water means more like the air. There is no mentioning of water, but it's more about that it's flying without disturbing the air. It's like jumping, flying. Try to imagine the video I showed you, the way that the bird moved, and it takes quite a small lift over the air, over the sky, and moved in a beautiful way. So that's the mentioning. And the next thing is children. Someone would be able to say. Anyway, I'll get into my explanation too. I'll talked about this last line in a descriptive manner in my note. Just think about what was the flight of the bird. What was the flight of the bird? There are two comparisons. One is roving a boat. Yeah. What is the second one? The second is butterflies flying. Okay, or flight of the butterfly. So these are the two similes, or two examples brought to explain the flight of the bird. Now don't get things messed up. Bird's flight is explained by taking two examples. One is rowing a boat. You see how delicate this movement is, and how the oars divide water, and when you divide water, there are some small waves coming up, and the shine over the waves, over the seams. Yeah, try to imagine, try to bring this. So the bird's flight is gentle, softer than this rowing. Or the second thing is bird flight is gentle than butterflies moving in the river banks in the evening. Okay, what images are used to compare his flight? You think about the imagery now. What impression of the movement of the bird do you get as a result? What is the impression of the bird movement? The impression is more like the soft gentleness of the movement. So I'm quickly going through my note. The last stanza is more metaphorical. So this is a technique. Okay, children, please note it down. The last stanza is very metaphorical. You can't spot any metaphor, but the whole part is very much metaphorical. And the speaker is interested how the bird's wings move, right? And the natural movement of bird moving is softer and serene than man-made movement of rowing a boat. It's a very important point. So she's trying to compare and contrast rowing a boat as a man-made movement, and the bird's movement is gentle, softer, delicate than the man-made movement. And oars divide the ocean suggests how the oars create waves when moving the boat. The next point is water too silver, too shiny, make little waves when rowing. The speaker continue. It should be continuous. I'm sorry, there's a spelling mistake. The speaker continues to explain the gratefulness of the flight. As I told you, butterflies flap their wing elegantly over the river banks in sunshine. So the mentioning of splashless is more about jumping, moving without disturbing the air. But in other hand, you can also say, this is what I mentioned you, that I will tell you separately. The bird's movement is more serene and scenic than butterflies flying over the bank. And another thing we can consider is, children, sometimes when the butterflies are flying in the river banks of the banks, their shadow would fall in the water, right? And an observer or someone who is observing would think that butterflies are swimming in water, but without making any noise, without disturbing the water. So that is the second thing you can consider. Please note it down, will be interesting. It's some sort of a imaginative and a critical, more than a critical, it's a creative way of looking at the last line. The butterflies reflections, reflections of the butterflies would be on the would have fallen on the water, and the reader would see, oh sorry, the poetess would consider it as a movement of butterflies swimming in water, right? That's the end of the poem. Very interesting, very beautiful, and I hope that you are really lucky to have this poem at an early stage of learning literature. Let's go to the themes, children. Just try to think within your end what sort of themes are here brought by the poetess. So basically, you know, it comes under the category of the nature. So the theme, one of the biggest or the overall theme can be the nature. And this main theme of the nature can be broke down into small different portions. Maybe you can talk about the what? The beauty, the self-sufficiency, the behavior of the living being. So likewise, different aspects of nature can be taken as one theme. Beauty of nature can be taken as another theme. And then animals have their own dignified lives, their own gracefulness can be another theme. So let's try to go through these three main different themes will be important for you. You can even note this down. The writer suggests the different elements of nature are interrelated. Okay, different elements of nature are interrelated. For an example, interdependency, interrelationships, dangers, self-sufficiency, all these are interrelated in the nature. They are interdependent, they are self-sufficient, that's why they reject man-made food or food offered by the man. And the other thing, when they are happy with their food intake, they would not accept the food, and identifies rather the appearance of human being as a danger in nature. As well as you see the interrelationships and food chains, these all are different aspects you can think about. Interrelationships in terms of the way that it led the beetle to pass. Yeah, it shows the interrelationships, they are collaborative. Give me a second, I'm sorry. So as I told you earlier, sorry if there was a disruption in my the network. So they, as I told you, there are collaboration, cooperation by letting a beetle to pass, drinking water from convenient grass, are very much explained here. Just could you please have a look at the paragraph for a second? Thank you for your patience, and you might have understood nature thereby provides everything for sustenance and existence of its living beings, including human, animal, birds, and flora. When the birds are hungry, the nature provides him with the earthenworm and provides water to quench their thirst. Birds are always alert and extra vigilant for the imminent or threats, dangers in nature, especially when they are surrounded by human dwellers. The frightened nights and its rushing suggests the extra cautiousness of the birds. So all these stand for different aspects of nature brought by the poetess. In your questions, sometimes, sorry, when you're writing answers, sometimes there can be very common questions asking, how does Dickinson bring different aspects of nature in her poem, A Bird Came Down the Walk? Okay, so please be careful when you're answering. These are some different areas you can focus about when you're answering. Please make sure you bring relevant examples, relevant quotes from the textbook, and probably you will get full marks. The next element is the next theme is the beauty of nature. The beauty of nature has been explained explicitly in different instances. Okay, one thing is the beauty and gracefulness of the bird's flight. The bird's flight has been explained in a magnificent way, so serene, so gentle, so beautiful, and as well as the beauty of the flight of the butterfly. So all these are beauties in the natural world, and as well as the reflection. This is what I mentioned earlier. Perhaps the butterfly's reflection over the surface of water makes them appear as swimming. The bird in the poem can be regarded as one of a significant member of the nature. Not only the bird's movement, but also its physical appearance with its shiny beady eyes, velvet head, green grass, black beetle. All these are unique features which beautifies the nature. It's not mature, it's nature. The natural beauty could be seen when animals are there in own setup, not especially in the wilderness, not influenced by human being. Is explicitly brought by the writer here, not in the zoo or not in the parks or not in the domestic cage. I think this is a message that the writer is bringing in this poem, that we should let animals to be the way they want, okay, to be to not to disturb um, the behavior or their lives. Therefore, the poetess alerts us to leave the nature alone. I think it's a message, a universal request that she tries to indirectly brings in this poem. The next point is Dickinson provides one of the most breathtaking description of flying in all of poetry, simply by offering two quick comparisons. As I told you, one is an aquatic movement of rowing a boat, and the second one is the flight of butterflies, roaming and swimming. She evokes delicacy and fluidity of moving through air. So the delicacy and the fluidity, you know, it's very fluid. Animals have their own dignity, and gracefulness is one another very important highlights of the poetess in this poem. So interestingly, uh, this is something we actually forget when we observe the nature. We may try to be sympathetic, we may try to be more kindful towards the animals, but in reality it seems like the animals, they themselves have own respect and dignity, okay, and we have to give that due recognition, due respect to the animals. So the respect and preserve the identity of the own animals is important. We shall respect their freedom. Sorry about the noise. And yeah, so we all should respect their freedom while enjoying the nature. So we can enjoy the nature, we can observe the nature, but importantly, we should let them to respect their freedom. Dickinson advises man to admire nature from distance, okay, without mediating. As a natural creature frightened by the speaker into flying away, the bird becomes an emblem of the quick, lively, ungraspable wild essence that distances nature from the human beings. Now, try to think critically in case if the poetess didn't interrupt the bird or didn't offer the crumb or didn't come closer to the bird would still there enjoying the walk in the garden, okay. But unfortunately, the poetess mediated, and with that she created that distance from the from the bird. Otherwise she would have been more closer and she would have enjoyed the beauty of the nature. But unfortunately, her mediation, her own act, um, literally distance the relationship between the bird and the human being. Now, children, that's the end of the themes. Now I'm moving to the techniques. There are quite a lot of techniques, and I know that you are so new to the techniques. You must be still trying to understand different poetic devices, the techniques, and that's why I thought of, yeah. So you're already in the third term, I know, but let me try to be quite descriptive about the techniques. Right. So there are quite a lot of list of techniques I have tried to summarize in my presentation. One is alliteration. You may know what is meant by alliteration. Alliteration means the repetition of the same sound at the beginning of nearby words. Okay, nearby words means particularly the words belongs to the same line. You may see here, look like. We should not go along with the letters, but more with the sounds. So, sound. Sound is repeated in nearby words. It's called as alliteration. So we can see alliteration here. They look like frightened bees. So same like that. There can be more. I have given only one example. Another alliteration is, I'm just spotting in the book, drank a dew. I would have opened the comments if you behave nicely, but unfortunately I had to close the chat. Otherwise I would have asked you to give the examples in the chat box, but it's because of your misconduction, everyone lost the opportunity. I'm sorry about it. So I just spotted this one, drank a dew. So dd, alliteration. Okay, so likewise you may be able to spot more. And yeah, the next thing is assonance. Assonance means, children, repetition of the vowel sound in the nearby words or in the same line. Okay, repetition of the vowel sound. So you don't want to be careful about whether they come at the beginning or at the end. It's more about repeating wherever, but in the nearby words in the same line. You see the vowel sound repeated, probably in the mid of the word here, not at the beginning. Okay, it can be at the beginning, it doesn't matter. But if it is the beginning, at the beginning, it's more about the alliteration. Okay, so here assonance comes with the repetition of the vowel sound. Row, o, soft o, home, o sound repeated again, which increases the musical quality of the poem. Yeah. The third one is consonance. Now, the opposite of, more or less like, what is the other side of assonance is consonance. Assonance is repetition of the vowel sound. Consonance is repetition of the consonant sound. Okay. So you see here, the consonant sound is repeated and hoped side. So sound is consonants. The next point is enjambment. Enjambment means run on line without a pause. The line or the reciting the poem continues. Okay. For an example, and then hop sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. Here it doesn't pause. It moves to the second line. Then hop sidewise to the wall to let a beetle pass. Goes with no pause. I think there should be another enjambment coming in. Yeah, so that's basically the enjambment I see here. Yeah, here. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. That also goes as an enjambment. He glanced with rapid eyes that hurried all abroad. Goes together. Now the next one is visual imagery. You can see everywhere. I don't want to give examples for that. Birds coming down, biting, offering the crumb, rowing, sorry, not rowing, the flight. It comes with different imagery, as well as rowing boats, and then the butterflies, the flying in the river banks. All adds into visual image. All add into visual imagery. The next point is color imagery. You can see here, velvet head indicates a color imagery. The next point is metaphors. There are a couple of metaphors used. Metaphors means there's a comparison between two different things. When there is a comparison, direct comparison between two different things, we can consider it as a metaphor. But one differ from the another, one completely differ from the another, but you think A is the B and B is the A. Okay, that is the idea of metaphors. I hope you're familiar with these things. Hope that you have done these techniques at the beginning. This is not the time for me to explain the techniques, but it's more about I can explain you the techniques used by the writer. His third is velvet head. Okay, velvet head you can't find. So this is one metaphor, and the second one is glanced with rapid eyes. These are two metaphors used by the writer. There are similes used. So similes means again a comparison between two different things, but you use words like, as, such as to create that comparison. Okay, a direct comparison made by using words like, as, such as. They look like frightened bees. One thing. The second example, second simile is oh no, they look like frightened bees. And the second one is, I'm sorry, not this, like one in danger, cautious. Okay, so that's the second example, like one in danger, cautious. There's an anaphora used. Anaphora means repetition of a word, not a letter, not a sound, but this time a word or a phrase at the beginning of successive lines. Okay, so you see here the same phrase is repeated, and he unrolled his feathers and rode softer home, and is repeated again and again. We call it as anaphora. There are quite a lot more harmonies. The next part, so personification, you may know personification means whenever you are trying to give human qualities to inanimate or non-living things. You are trying to non-living things and animals. So basically it's a more about providing or giving human qualities, human attributes for non-humans. Okay, so bird is a non-human, and let's see, personification is here when at the mentioning of he, use of the he unrolled feathers, rowing is done by humans, not by animals. Okay, and then came down, all these stand for personification. And softer home belongs to the mankind, not for the animals. Right, so the next very important technique is symbolism. Symbolism plays a very significant role here. One thing is convenient grass, drinking water by using glass. So it creates an image, or it symbolizes man drinking water using a glass. Convenient grass stand. The second one is grass and the dew. Okay, so that stands for self-sufficiency in nature as well as natural food. Dew stands for natural food. And butterflies stand for natural beauty. And the next one is angleworm. It stands for the victims in nature, the food chains, innocence and weak members of nature, because the worm is so innocent, he's very helpless. Yeah, so innocent, weak members, natural food chains are symbolized by the grass, and then the basically by the worm, but both grass and then the angel worm stands for the food chains. You know, the worm depends on grass, and then grass is eaten by the worm is eaten by the bird. So it stands for the food chains. Next point is dew. As I told you, it's natural drink. Crumb, man-made food. Walk, the walk. It's the walk is a place of interaction between natural and animal world, human and animal world. More about human and so footpath. We usually footpath or a walk is surrounded by trees, flora. Yeah, so that's why it's a place, as well as the garden is a place where human and animal can interact. Okay. um as I told you, the poem is written into quatrains. Quatrains means 4-line stanzas. And there are 5 stanzas, as I told you. Each stanza is a quatrain. There's a rhyming scheme. The rhyming scheme is ABAB rhyme scheme, and that goes until the end. So the meaning of ABAB means you see, this is more related to, yeah, there are the first line and the third line are not into similar pattern, but they always change the pattern. And sometimes you can consider it as ABC. Yeah, ABCA, ABCA. It goes more or less like ABAB. It's, yeah. Show you a little. So if you consider this as A, ocean, noon. So it's A. C, swim is B. So A, B, A, B. That's how we call it as ABAB rhyme scheme. Right. That's going to be end of my presentation, children. I know some of you want to know certain details. I'm just going to change my slide for a while, because earlier I had included my contact details, but I don't like to show my contact details in this case. So thank you everyone for joining the session. Let me quickly open the chat box in case if you are having any questions at the last minute. Give me a second, I'll adjust the, yeah, chat.
Hey, Shiromi.
Yeah.
Okay, then you are going to end the session.
Yeah, of course, I'm done. I wanted to know if they have any question, maybe they can raise, or
Okay.
else they can send me
I'm actually sorry about the misuse of chat box.
That's fine. I understand children, but it's nicer to be professional all the time. I know.
Yeah, it's your time, students. If you have any queries, just ask from Shiromi before wind up the session. And dear students, please fill the evaluation form I have put in the chat box. Just evaluate the session to get the update of our sessions, and we will let you know if we have any literature seminars. And Shiromi, shall we wind up then?
Yes, I'm free to wind up.
Okay, just I take the opportunity to give my heartiest thanks to Miss Shiromi Samarakon to accepting our invitation. Actually, I know you are a very busy person with so many schedules, but and our students, and as well, we are also lucky to have the opportunity with you. And thank you very much, Shiromi. Hopefully, we are going to have another session as you told me earlier, if possible.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I really enjoyed the session. And we are benefited by the free education and happy to contribute the free education system, whatever the means we can. Thank you so much for the invitation. If you have any questions, maybe you can send me an email. I have given you the email address in my slide, as well
Yeah.
as Mr. Isuru. I hope we can. I can share this presentation as well, so you can upload to the whatever the group you have, so then
Sure.
children can access the note. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Shiromi. So it's
Bye.
a great opportunity
Have a
for
great
us
day,
all.
everyone.
Okay, stay safe then, and please fill the evaluation form in this case, so we can improve ourselves as well if we have any problems with our sessions. So again, I convey my thanks for Ms. Shiromi. So let's wind up the session. Have a good day then. Okay, bye Shiromi.
Bye.
Yeah. Is there anything, Shiro?
No, no, not at all. You can
Okay.
validate.
Okay, and the video will be uploaded to YouTube as well, so you can go through the video and watch the video in case if you have missed some points. Okay, so let's wind up for today. Thank you very much.